Welcome to Frameworks. This is a place for coaches who want more than just reps and sets. We dig into principles, philosophy, and stories that help you coach with clarity, design with purpose, and to keep chasing mastery. Today, we're going to talk about goal setting, but not the kind that sounds good on day one and falls apart by week 3. It's the kind that actually guides decisions, shapes programs, and to keep clients moving forward when motivation fades. If you've ever had a client with a big goal and no follow through, this episode is for you, so let's dig into it. We've all coached people with goals. If we haven't, why would people hire us, right? So every single client that comes to you has some kind of goal. Some are very objective, and we love objectivity as coaches. So if someone says, I want to gain muscle, we put them on an in-body scan and we're like, you have this much muscle. Winning means that muscle increases. Or I want to get stronger. We have these KPIs in strength. Winning means that we're getting stronger within these KPIs. Okay, so some are very objective, some are very subjective, and we have to dig for those. But most people, whatever those goals are, they don't fail to reach their goals because they don't want them badly enough. They fail because the goal was never actually connected to reality. A good goal does not create pressure, it creates direction, right? So if I want to put on some muscle, and I throw someone on that in-body scan, now we have direction. We're here and we want to go here. And now let's talk about what it might look like to get there. And that's what I want to talk about today. I'm going to lay out a framework that we're calling the goal setting framework. We dig into this framework in the OPEX method, but I want to elaborate a little bit more on this framework in today's episode of Frameworks. So when we start to think about a good goal versus a bad goal, so what I just said is like that goal doesn't create pressure, it creates direction. And direction only comes when we slow down enough to build the right framework for that goal. Most goal setting steps, or most goal setting, it actually skips steps, or it doesn't even consider, well, what is step 1? What is step 2? What is step 3? We have like this place where we are now. We see where we want to go and we're like full steam ahead. Let's get there. Okay. So we don't want to skip those steps. Clients start with the outcome, but us as coaches, we cannot start with the outcome. The outcome is really important. We'll call that the aim. The aim is really important, but there's a lot of steps in between where we are right now and that aim. So if a client comes to us and they say, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to run a marathon, or I want to get strong again, those are aims, not plans. When we start with the aim and ignore context, everything downstream becomes fragile, right? It's like the chances that we're going to run that marathon, get stronger, or lose those 20 pounds, if we don't have a plan and we're just like, well, I think this is going to work for you. Let's put on our blinders and do it, and then wake up in 6 weeks and hope that we're closer to that. We're probably going to fall short of that goal. The role of the fitness coach is to amplify that desire. Okay. It's to amplify the desire to actually get there. Okay. It's to translate that desire into structure. And that's how we'll amplify it, right? It's like your desire is to run that marathon. Okay. I want to amplify that. Okay. But I don't want to amplify it by motivation means only. I want to translate that desire into structure, an actionable plan, context, realities, truths, all of those things. And it's an agreement between us as the coach and the client on what we believe it's going to take to get to that goal. So today I'm going to lay out a framework that has us starting with where someone is right now when they say, hey, I want to run that marathon, and that marathon is that aim. So what I want to talk about is, what does it actually mean to get there? Inside the OPEX method, when we talk about goal and goal setting, we use a really simple framework, and that framework is ground, aim, resources, and recipe. Okay. So as I walk through this framework, I just want to hit each one of those specifically. Right now, I'm going to start with ground. Okay. So ground is where your client actually is right now, not where they used to be, not where they want to go, but where they are today. That's the ground. So when we talk about here at OPEX, we've been saying this for many, many years. Meet your clients where they are. Where they are is the ground. This is where they've come to you. Here are the things that they have, their capabilities, their incapabilities, all of those things. things, that is the ground. Okay. So this includes training history, current capacity, current injuries, maybe pains that they're having, lifestyle stressors, consistency patterns that we're seeing or maybe not seeing. This is the ground, and this is where your clients are right now today. Let's walk through an avatar as we kind of walk through these steps. I think that will be helpful. We have a client. His name is Jason. Jason wants to run a marathon, and that's awesome. But where is he right now? Okay, so he runs twice a week for about 20 minutes and has recurring knee pain. That's the ground. If we skip this step or we don't consider this step, the plan that comes beyond this step is probably not going to work. Okay, so a coaching cue is, where are you starting from? Not where do you wish that you were going. So where are you starting from? So that's something that you have to think about when we start thinking about the ground. Where are we starting? Not where we wish we were or where we wish to go. Okay. So truth first always. We have to identify the ground. And for Jason, he runs twice a week for about 20 minutes and he has some knee pain. So we know that our work is cut out for us if the aim is to run a marathon, and we agree that that is the actual aim or goal. Let's talk about that aim. Let's talk about goals. Okay. So the aim is the outcome. But more importantly, it's the why behind the outcome. And I think that that's really important for us to consider. Don't take all aims or goals at face value. Dig in, ask clarifying questions. Why do you want to do this? How are you going to feel when you do this? Have you shown evidence in the past that you were able to do this, or have you done this before? Those are just clarifying questions. Okay. So, what if Jason doesn't want to just finish the marathon, but he wants to prove to himself that he can be disciplined again after years of burnout and inconsistency and lacking discipline? Okay. This matters a lot, because when training gets hard, the finish line won't keep him going. Okay. That meaning will. It's like, why do you want to do this? So we always have to dig into that. And I think this shows its face a lot when people talk about body composition goals. And I won't dig into some variations or where we've seen that kind of go sideways in the past. But just know, that one specifically is one that you should really understand why someone wants to, get down to 15% body fat, or why someone wants to gain 15 pounds of muscle mass, right? It's not a bad goal. Just ask why. And you're not asking why to just challenge them so they change their mind. You're asking why because you're trying to find that meaning behind the goal. Because remember, that matters a lot, because when it gets tough, the finish line or that goal isn't going to matter as much as the meaning, the why behind that goal. As a coach, don't rush this. A weak aim creates weak commitment. Okay. So a coaching cue here for you is, ask your client, why does this matter beyond the finish line? And the finish line can be the, body fat percentage, the muscle mass, running the marathon, subjectively feeling better, whatever that is. Always dig deeper whenever you have these consultations with your clients and you're talking about goals. Okay. So we have the ground, right? We understand where our client is. We've identified the aim. That's all the way up here. So remember, we don't want to go from ground to aim, right? There's some things that we have to consider in between the ground and the aim. The first thing that we have to consider is just resources. Okay. So resources are what makes the goal possible. And this isn't just what equipment do they have access to, but resources can include things like how much time do they have, energy, right? What is their energy level on a day-by-day basis to complete the tasks that you'd like them to do? Schedule flexibility, support system. Do they have a supportive husband or wife at home, or whatever the case is? What is their capacity to recover? And emotional bandwidth. What else is going on in life right now at this moment? Is right now the right time to reach for that aim? Okay, so we have to think about those resources that client has, or maybe that what that client doesn't have. Okay, so going back to our avatar, Jason, let's say that he has 3 days per week to train. He has a supportive wife, but he does have some limited recovery due to work stress. These things all matter. We have to keep these in consideration before we go to the recipe and actually build the plan. If we ignore resources, the plan will demand more than the client can give. And if the plan is is demanding more than the client can give, what are we doing? We're probably setting them up for failure. And when that happens, now we start to get into this place of demotivation, lacking confidence because there's no wins that are stacked up from what you're giving your client. So a coaching cue here, something to think about, is just ask, what do you have that supports this goal and what's missing? I think that latter part might be even more important, right? Like, is there anything that you don't have, that would, set you up to be more successful at this goal? Okay. And if you don't have it, can we get it? And if we can't get it, let's keep that in mind, not as an excuse, not as a reason, but just as a variable, something that we understand, like, hey, this is a limiting factor for us. So we need to build a plan to work around that or work over that limiting factor. All right, coaches, we are now where we all wanted to be, and that's at the recipe. I know we all have these coaching brains where we're like, what's the program? What are we designing? We're there now, and that's the recipe. Okay, so only now do you build the recipe. This is where the program design, the lifestyle design, the nutrition design, this is where all of that lives. Okay, so for Jason, this might look something like a 16-week running progression. We might be doing some strength training twice a week. We are being really intentional about recovery, okay, because we noticed when we looked at resources that this might be a little bit of a challenge for us. So we just want to get ahead of this. We want to be proactive. We might have some conservative volume increases to respect his knee pain because we identified that. This recipe should feel challenging but doable, livable, right? If he can't do it, if he can't repeat it, if he can't be consistent in it, it doesn't matter how good it looks on paper. It's just not going to work for him. Okay. So that's why it's really important to always look at, always assess, always understand, always contextualize the individual that's in front of you. Because if you just write this awesome program and Coach RX and you're like, dude, I'm going to ship this off to everyone because this program is gold. Not everyone is going to see success in that because a program on paper means nothing without understanding who is going to do that program. What is their environment? What are their resources? What's their aim? What are their capabilities? All of those things. So we just have to think about that. And once we have all of that context, now we're cooking up, we're building the recipe, we're building the design. Now that's a very simple and very executable and a very tactical goal setting framework that I think so many coaches, if they adopt, it'll just work for them. This framework does three very, very important things. Number one, it connects the goals to reality, which I think is so important and I think a lot of frameworks miss. Number two, it aligns expectation on both sides. Okay, so coach and client expectations, really, really important to understand expectations on both sides because how do we gauge success if we don't know what we're expecting? And finally, it turns coaching into a collaborative process. Okay, so when we're going through this framework, you obviously have to involve the client that's on the other side. Okay, so if we could put this framework together and we can start implementing it with clients, and it takes time, I get it, but that's why we consult with people. Clients are going to stop chasing those outcomes, and they start executing on behaviors that you've agreed upon. From an application standpoint, next time a client brings you a goal, slow them down, walk them through the framework. Ground before aim before resources before the recipe or the program design. When goals are framed this way, programs make more sense, buy-in increases, and the likelihood that you're going to see success increases as well. But I think the most important thing is trust, right? We build trust because when we involve our clients as a part of this process, that's why that buy-in increases because they just trust you more. All right, to close it out, I think that we just have to understand that goals are not wishes, right? Like if someone comes to you with a goal and they're paying you to help them hit that goal, and you are, calling yourself a professional coach, we have to be very strategic and tactical in ensuring that we eventually get them to their goal, right? Like we're not, we can't tell the future, right? Like we don't know what recipe is going to work for everyone, But if we strategically work through this framework, we understand where they're at right now. We understand their resources and capabilities. We put the recipe together to get them to that aim. As we're going from recipe to aim, that's where coaching happens. We're going to all make mistakes, but how do we pivot from those mistakes? How do we learn from those mistakes? But again, on that trust factor that we just talked about, let's bring our clients into that process. Let's not try to, act as if we are perfect and that everything that we're doing is perfect. That trust will increase when you say, hey, I thought this was going to work. It's not working the way that I wanted it to. Let's pivot and we're going to do this instead. And this is why we're going to do this instead. I think any client would really appreciate that. Okay, so when ground, aim, resources, and recipes align, progress becomes more predictable. And that, in my opinion, is good coaching, and that is long game thinking. So appreciate you guys being here with me today, and make sure that we're implementing this framework, or at least some kind of goal-setting framework with everyone that you're working with. And until next time, have a good one, everyone.